Welcome to the discussion of Chapter 3. In Chapter 3, we meet some new characters. And we meet Nastasya, who I love because she truly cares about Raskolnikov. She's one of the only people who has seen him or talked to him in months. Even though he's completely antisocial at this point, he does not love her company, but she doesn't read the room well. She just comes right in. He wakes up, she's in the room. She's in there with a teapot, and he says, "Oh, this is from the landlady." And she's like, "Yeah, the landlady's, she's not your greatest fan right now. You know she's going to go to the police about you." And he's like a little taken aback because, he's been plotting a murder. So he's like, "Oh, the police, why?" And he's like, "You haven't paid her in a while, and you also won't leave. She keeps telling you to leave or pay, and you don't do either. So she's going to go complain to the police about you, have you evicted." And he's like, "Oh, like that's like the least of his worries right now." And she's like, I saved you some soup. I made some soup," even though she's been told by her boss, the landlady, to not feed him because he hasn't been paying. She sneaks him food. And the teapot that's in his room with her, that's her teapot. She brought it from her own room, and she saved him some soup. And he's like, oh, he gives her money, like, "Oh, go buy me some bread and sausages." And she's like, "Oh, I've got a great soup. I saved it for you. And the bread I can get you right away." And he's like, he doesn't appreciate her, but she is the only person in Petersburg who cares about him, who knows him, like what he's going through. And she's kind of giving him a little bit of a hard time. She's like, "Whatever happened to, you used to teach kids, lessons." He was a tutor. That was how he made money while he was in Petersburg to help pay for his university studies. And he kind of scoffs at this. He's like, "Ugh, doesn't pay hardly anything. It hardly seems worth it." And she's like, "Well, what do you want? You want some fortune all at once? Like, you've got to, make your money where you can. And what are you doing? You're just laying here. You like no money's coming in." She's kind of trying to help him, almost like a maternal figure. Like, "Listen, go back to teaching and get some money, pay the landlady, just kind of like trying to break him out of these doldrums that he's been in because he's just been, depressed and in his room and not eating, not paying, not working." And she's kind of trying to like shake him out of it, like kind of joking, but you can tell like she's trying to give him some advice, kind of be like, "Hey, well, what about that?" And he's just like, "Oh, I can't think about that." And he says something like, "Well, you need good boots to do that." Like, he's in rags at this point. He's let himself go so much. And he's like, to be presentable, to be a tutor, like it would take him looking better. And he's like, it's just to him in his depressed state, it's just like, that just seems so out of reach and like not even at all at the top of his list of what he wants to do. And so they're having this conversation, and she's like, "Oh, yeah, I forgot. I got a letter." And he's like, "What? Why are you burying the lead? Bring the letter post haste." And so she goes and gets the letter, and he's like, "Just go, go. I can't deal with you and the letter." And so he's super anxious because he has not heard from his mother in a couple of months. And she explains in the letter why she hasn't written to him. And it's because their life, his mom and his sister's lives, have been in absolute chaos for the past 2 months. And she also admits that she hasn't been 100% truthful with him in the past few times that she has contacted him and given him money and said, "Oh, I know you think that the money that I gave you was from the pension, but I had already gone through the pension money, and so I had to borrow money from this local guy, and I couldn't give you any more money now because I have to still pay him back." And so she's kind of burying herself in this debt. And then she also comes clean that his sister, in order to kind of also give him money, she says, "Oh, remember when Dounia gave you that, 60 rubles? That was money that she had gotten as an advance on being a governess for this local wealthy couple." And so she got an advance on her salary, and then she has to pay it back. So she's already, even though she's starting a new job, Dounia, his sister, is in debt and has to work for them until she can pay it off. And she already sent that money. And here's Raskolnikov. He's gone through the money that his sister's given him. He's gone through the money that his mom's given them. They are like going into debt, like everything that they can do to help him. And now, finding out that he still could not afford to continue paying for his law degree, and that he had to drop out, and that he lost his teaching position as a tutor. And so they're very worried because they cannot survive on their own. And they have all their hopes and dreams pinned on him becoming a lawyer and just being the head of the household in place of, his father who has died. And so then his mother goes on to say, well, and we've had this huge blow up here with Dounia at this governess position, because although that was a very good position, the head of household there, Mr. Svidrigailov, fell in love with Dounia, and he was propositioning her left and right, and, come away with me. I'll leave my family. I'll take you abroad. I'll take you to another state. And we find out later in the book that Svidrigailov did not marry his wife, Marfa Petrovna, because of love, but because of necessity. And so he doesn't love his wife, even though they have children together. And Dounia is probably half his age, very beautiful, and he is just enamored with her. And he propositions her in a way that's completely inappropriate, and she rebuffs him constantly. But at one point, the wife, Marfa Petrovna, overhears the proposition, overhears them talking in the garden, and basically blames it on Dounia. It's like, oh, you've been, trying to steal my husband, and turns her out in a very humiliating way. Like, doesn't just like allow her to pack up her things and leave the house, get a ticket and get a carriage and leave. No, puts her in the back of this cart with a pack horse, and like any other peasant would be, traveling in, and, doesn't even allow her to pack up, just like throws all of her dresses and her clothes in the back of this cart and just sends her on her way. And so she has to arrive in town completely humiliated, out in this open cart. And so the whole town is talking now. And Marfa Petrovna is encouraging it because she's going from door to door, making sure that everybody knows that Dounia's a hussy that's been inappropriately, approaching her husband and homewrecker and all of this. And surprisingly, Svidrigailov, probably because he really does like Dounia, does not want to see this happening to her. I mean, it's getting to the point where people in town are shunning them. Even, they can't even go to church because everybody's gossiping about them. And it's just so bad. They're basically like shunned and, holed up in their house because the whole town is talking. And so Svidrigailov kind of takes pity on the situation, and he goes to his wife and he's like, look, it was me. She didn't have anything to do with it. And as proof, here is a letter that she wrote me where Dounia strongly admonishes him and says, this is completely inappropriate. You have a wife, you have children, you're the head of the household. I'm not going to be a part of this. I'm not going to commit adultery with you, and kind of, puts him in his place. And so Marfa Petrovna, it's just proof that she cannot dispute. And she realizes that she has wrecked this girl's reputation. And so she is, to her credit, grieved that she did this. And so she goes to church and she, prays, and then she goes to their house and she just apologizes. I'm going to make it right. And she does make it right. She goes above and beyond. Even Raskolnikov's mother is like, she kind of went a little overboard. She didn't have, she was like having these like, weekly readings of the letter, and, just going above and beyond to say what a bastion of, propriety and modesty and morals that Dounia was. And so puffing her up so much that Dounia started receiving multiple job offers of people in the town saying, "Oh, well, would you come, teach my children," and blah, blah, blah. But Raskolnikov's mother goes on to say Dounia did not take those because she got a different offer. And so what happened was that Marfa Petronova's cousin, Peter Petrovich Luzin, has also been hearing from his cousin about, I believe they're cousins, they're related, about Dounia. And so he's, like interested, he's intrigued, impressed by her morals, and also oddly by her poverty. And so his mother writes about him, and it's kind of like this, like what we've been talking before. There's the truth, there's narrative, and then there's truth. And there's things that we say the situation is, and then there's the truth. And it's kind of like the reading between the lines is the truth of the narrative. And so it's like his mother is trying to say, she's trying to tell this story, but Raskolnikov's reading between the lines because the truth keeps slipping through. And so she's talking about how, oh, this is a great opportunity for Dounia. And he's just such a, he's a self-made man, and he's got, he's already got his fortune, and he, so impressed with Dounia. And also, I thought it was odd that he said that he really, what he liked about her was that she was poor, and that, he didn't want a wife who had a dowry. He wanted a wife who would be like basically indebted to him, like that he would have the upper hand. I mean, that is what he's saying. He wants a wife who is not independent, who could not, leave, basically, like who would always be like, oh my gosh, you rescued me from my dire circumstances. That's what he wants. And his mother is even saying, like, it sounded odd to me, but when I said later to Dounia, Dounia's like, oh mother, it's fine, it's just the way, he talks. And she's like, oh, maybe I misunderstood it, I don't know, it seemed so. It's like his mom keeps like referencing, like, yeah, it was kind of a red flag, but Dounia was like, no, it's fine. And she's like, well, maybe I misunderstood, maybe this and that. But Raskolnikov's not misunderstanding. Raskolnikov is reading this letter, and he is seeing it for what it is. And so his mother talks about how the other thing that was odd was that Peter Petrovich like wants an answer right away. I mean, this is clearly an arranged marriage. He comes to her and he's basically like, I'm proposing marriage. Like it's not even like, hey, let's go on a date. Let's take a walk. Let's get to know each other. No, it's, I've heard about you. I know that you are of great morals and you're poor, and that's what I want for a wife. And so I need to know right away because I'm going to Petersburg and I want you to come with me. I want you to meet me there and we get married right away. And so there's this huge rush. And it's clearly an arranged marriage. They don't know each other. And so Dounia spends the night, she thinks her mother's asleep. Dounia spends the night pacing and praying in front of the icon. The icon would be like a picture of the Blessed Mother. Usually in Russia, it would be this picture of the Blessed Mother holding the baby Jesus, but it could be something else, a statue, a crucifix. So she's praying in front of the icon, and she's, clearly this is a difficult decision. She's making her life's decision here. And in the morning, she says, I've made my decision. I'm going to marry him. And his mother goes on to say that the reason that she's doing this is because this will be the answer for Raskolnikov. That Raskolnikov will be basically is the whole reason why she's doing this, because it'll all be perfect, because Peter Petrovich is a lawyer and he's going to open up his own practice. And of course, he's going to need a right-hand assistant. And so wouldn't Raskolnikov just be perfect for this? And then, of course, once he has this employee in Raskolnikov, who's also his brother-in-law, he's going to want to be like, hey, you go finish your classes at university and I'll pay for it. And then once he finishes his classes at university, well, you're just the perfect person to be my future partner. And so they feel like, Dounia believes, and then she's made her mother also believe, like, this is the perfect plan. And even though his mother's like, well, he didn't really say, any of that. Like when we broached it lightly, and it was kind of like, he wasn't like buying into it, and they haven't really told him the whole plan. But Dunia's like, oh, mother, once I'm his wife, and he's going to want to please me, and I'm going to make, I'll do everything that I can to make, him happy with me as a wife. And then of course he will want to like please me, and he will do these things naturally. Like she just is like, don't worry about it. This is perfect. Like they feel like this is providence. Like God has just brought this solution to them, and this is it. And so, his mother's like begging him, like, he wants to meet you when he's in Petersburg. And, and so please be on your best behavior. I know you will. I know you're going to make a great impression. Just, try to make a good impression. And then she goes on to say some other kind of really disturbing red flags. Like, not only did he want this marriage, like, chop, chop, but he's like, I'm going on ahead of you, and I'll pay for your bags to get transported by a friend. So it's like, is he even paying, or is this guy just like somebody he knows who's like, yeah, we can throw these bags on the back, and I'll just bring to you, like a favor. He doesn't help them pay. He's like expecting them, he knows that they're poor and that the mother's unlimited income, but he's expecting them to pay their way to go to Petersburg. It's like, what fiance would be like, yeah, you pay your way to come to me, and then we're going to get married right away? And the mother's like, well, he hasn't really asked me to stay with them. It's almost like she's trying to make an excuse, because it's odd to her that he hasn't been more like, oh, and mother-in-law, of course you will stay with us. Because it's like, what else is she going to do? It's like she's coming to Petersburg, and like, how is that going to work? Is she just going to like somehow have her own place? And like, he's not making the arrangements like one would think, like, oh, and of course there's a room where you could stay with us, and I've got everything handled, and here's your tickets, and the carriage will pick you up here. Like, that is what you would expect your future husband or your future son-in-law to do. Like, he's asking you to move with him. Like, wouldn't he, or even be with them? Like, I'll come, and I got to go ahead of you, but then I'll come back and I'll get you, and we'll travel together. Like, that is what most men would do, travel with them, but he's going to have these two women traveling alone, finding their own way, paying their own way when they don't have the money. I mean, just so rude. And so, of course, I'm sure Raskolnikov is just miffed beyond. I mean, he's very angry by the time he gets to the end of this letter. And so the mom is kind of like, oh, I've already decided I won't stay with them. It's like she's rationalizing and kind of making this excuse, like, because he hasn't asked her. And so she doesn't want Raskolnikov to be like, why didn't he ask you to stay with them? Like, what, you're on your own now? And she's kind of like ahead of it preemptively, like just trying to smooth it over. Raskolnikov's not buying any of this. He, of course, understands his mother better than anything. And she, even though she was trying to hide it in the way that she was describing things, in her narrative, she keeps accidentally also telling the truth. And he also knows his sister. And he knows, he knows her. He knows that she would probably rather, as all women would, marry for love, and that her marrying this guy twice her age that she doesn't even know. It's clear from his mother's letter that the only reason she's doing this, and that she struggled with it, that this was a difficult decision, that she is sacrificing her future happiness for the sole purpose of Raskolnikov, for her brother. She's sacrificing her life so that her brother's future could be secured. And none of it is set in stone. I mean, none of it is anything agreed upon. It's just like, oh, these things, if this happens, then that, it's a pipe dream, really. It's like, it's them thinking like, oh, this could be the perfect solution. none of it, if she had to choose what her life would be like, would be ending up this way. And so Raskolnikov, he just puts this letter down and he's like, kind of like, hell no, and he immediately grabs his cap. He's going to go out, and it's like he's talking to himself again, and people are looking at him like, this guy drunk? Like, what's going on? And he's definitely like got a fire raging inside of him, and he's going somewhere. He's got something in mind, and he leaves the house. So we'll find out where he goes in chapter 4. But I love the way that Dostoyevsky takes these chapters and like introduces us to a different set of characters. And he's kind of like, here's this piece of the puzzle, here's this piece of the puzzle. And he's just kind of like giving us these characters and background, and there's an uncovering, and there's a layering. There's things that we don't even find out until much, much farther in the book, like history behind things that we don't even know at this point. But so we've got some new pieces of the puzzle. We've got some new characters, and then in chapter 4, we're going to have another key character. And I will see you in chapter 4.